The goal of this show is to help you break in and thrive in advertising. And we do that every single week by sharing the stories and advice of those rocking it on the other side. Also, we post advertising news you need to know in 60 seconds or less on our LinkedIn. You should follow us there and turn on post notifications at Breaking and Entering Media. It is unlike anything else you've ever seen, and you'll learn a lot too. Today, you are going to learn from Kurt Ravenwood. He is the co-founder, head of strategy at SRH. It's a 25-person creative shop based out of Milwaukee, Wisconsin, and they are crushing it. He grew up in a northern rural part of Wisconsin, obsessed with movies and media, with no real connections to the industry. He carved out his own path, though. After graduating from film school, he co-founded SRH and has since helped transform it into a standout agency that blends strategy, production, and creativity in one cohesive vision. We get into some really cool stuff this episode. I don't know much about strategy and marketing effectiveness, but Kurt does, and he teaches me so much, and he's actually reframed my own mindset and how I'm going to run this business starting today. In addition, he'll talk about how his agency helped create an independent film called Hundreds of Beavers, which basically just like top charts, top 10 lists in these independent film festivals, which kind of showcases their passion, what they're all about. But he's also helped brands like Diamond Coat Siding and Integrative Therapeutics triple in size and become consumer favorites in their categories. So he loves marketing effectiveness. He's going to teach you a lot about that from folks like Byron Sharp, Julian Cole. He mentions those folks. They've been on the show, so go look back in our archives and listen to them if you like what he's talking about now. I really recommend you check out SRH on their website, which will be linked below, and connect with Kurt because he is a genuinely amazing dude. Now on with the show. This is the Breaking and Entering Advertising Podcast. And as usual, I'm your accomplice, Gino Schellenberger. Kick it, Mikey. All right. Kurt Ravenwood, welcome to the Breaking and Entering Advertising Podcast. How are you doing today, sir?
I'm doing great. It's a balmy 32 degrees here in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, and I've got my warm hat on to compensate. So doing good.
The hat's cool, man. I hope people go check out our YouTube. If you're listening right now, you got to check it out. It's awesome. But Kurt, man, I am excited to talk with you today. You're going to teach me a lot, like revisiting some of those fundamentals of the marketing effectiveness world that I suck at. So I'm pumped for that. But we're also going to talk about you, SRH, your role there, how you accidentally broke into Hollywood, you mentioned, and then all your best advice for the next generation. How does that sound?
That sounds awesome. Let's do it.
Rock and roll. And where do we want to take this? I think let's start off with like outside of advertising. Like, what do you like to do? What are you up to? How do you spend your time? Or is it all work? Because that's fair too. That's how my life is.
It is a total work obsession. I'm obsessed with the intersection of advertising and media and entertainment. And I just have always been obsessed with all of these things. So I'm always quote unquote working, but I did that thing where, if you do what you love, you never work a day in your life. So I feel really lucky about that.
I don't think anybody's ever brought that up on this show. If you do what you love, you never work like a day in your life. That's something that's so common. Like we talk about all the time on the sides, but nobody mentioned it on this show yet after 410 episodes. So it's a good reminder. And could you make an argument? So you like media and culture. So if you go to the movies or if you're like going to a concert, that's kind of like work too, because you're absorbing that knowledge and you're getting all that good stuff in that you can later use for work. Would you make that argument?
Yeah, 100%. I just got back from South by Southwest. So I was speaking on a panel there about distributing movies and advertising movies and marketing movies. And, as a strategist, I find going to an event like that where you have this huge cross section of disciplines and industries is actually like some of the best research you can do about like, what are young people into? What are older people into? What's going on in the psychedelic mushrooms conference room, and what's going on over here in the AI tech kind of rooms, right? So I think every strategist, which is how I make my living, should really be a generalist and should be constantly going lateral. I think a good strategist is a lateral thinker, and not only a lateral thinker, but a lateral experiencer, right? So you should, I have a really weird and kind of crazy background of experiences that I can bring into my strategies, so that they're not so cookie cutter and not so cut and dry.
That's what I just still don't understand how to break into like a junior strategy role, because
Yep.
like to have all that experience and like do all these different things, or work on different clients on the account side, you can you might make a better case to be a strategist later on. But like to have like a junior brand strategist, like how do you even break into that? Like maybe that's something we can uncover too. Do you have any quick thoughts right there?
Yeah, I think right strategies. Right strategies. Show your boss, get notes, go back to the drawing board, write strategies. Like there are so many clients out there that you may love or have a passion for or have an insight into. Right? Every good strategy starts with a great insight. So if you have a great insight about a brand, even if they're not a client of the agency, write a brief.
Mm-hmm.
Practice, 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 and then show your work. Uh, the best way to become a thing is just to start doing it.
Mm-hmm. I love that. I love that.
Yeah,
Um, Wonderful. Well, let's talk about SRH. You've been there for
sure.
10 years. What's this all about? Tell me about the shop, what it's built on, what you do there, where it's at. Let's just take it nice and easy. Let's uncover the shop.
Cool. Yeah, real quick about me. I come from northern Wisconsin, a small town of about 7,000 people where you drive your tractor to prom. I'm not kidding about that. That was an exciting highlight of the year. Loved growing up in a small town, moved to Milwaukee, Wisconsin, where I'm based now, when I was in college. So went to college for film. So I went to college for, it was called a film, media, and new genres. So it was like an experimental media school. And when I graduated from there, I wanted to move to the coast, but I was very deeply in student loan debt. So I did the only thing I thought I could do, and I started a production company. This was about 12 years ago now. So it was right when Facebook was just rolling out video and everyone just wanted video. So it was a great time for me to start a video production company.
Mm-hmm.
But then, you go on set, you film things, you edit them, you put them out, and then you're done. I didn't have a very strategic relationship with my clients. But when I would work with agencies, so agencies would hire me, I would be in those rooms and I would see the kind of thinking and creativity and planning and strategy. And that kind of stuff actually excited me even more. So I joined up with two of my buddies who were agency side, and we started our own company. And that was 10 years ago, 2014, or just over 10.
Mm-hmm.
And we called it SRH. We just put our names on the door, Matt Sablejack, Kurt Ravenwood, and Sam Hogerden, SRH, and we started it in Matt's apartment. We never took on any money or anything. We just started doing work for clients. And today we're about a 25-person shop here in Milwaukee, kind of a full service 360 boutique advertising agency.
Nice.
Yeah.
Nice. Love that. Milwaukee's great. Any recommendations for like the food scene, restaurants, if people are visiting? What do you like to do there?
Oh, hell yeah. So Milwaukee, you can only come in the summer or fall.
Of
That's
course.
step one. So don't let my city show you its winter and early spring side. But once you're here in the summer and fall, it's great. There's festivals going on all the time. And my favorite place to go is a small tiki bar called Foundation Tiki Bar. And I've been in a lot of tiki bars at this point around the world. And I got to say this one in Milwaukee, Wisconsin is the best. So if you're ever in Milwaukee, Wisconsin, go to Foundation Tiki Bar.
Love it.
And make sure you don't drive.
Okay. Got it. Strong. It's strong stuff
Yeah.
there. Wonderful. So what's it like then working and running an ad agency in Milwaukee? Because we know the major hubs, Milwaukee doesn't necessarily fall in like my awareness level of where ad agencies are located. What's your take on all this? How is it an advantage? How is it a disadvantage? Give me the rundown location.
Well, the easy advantage is that it's easy to live here, right? Beautiful town, not very expensive, has everything you want in it. It's a 1.5 million metro area. So there's like a lot to do, but it's not overrun. The flip side of that, of course, is that we're not sort of a hub for any of the emerging industries or, big, huge corporations. Milwaukee sort of had its heyday in the 50s. Before, like many other Rust Belt cities, a lot of manufacturing moved overseas. So it's a great city, but it's not exactly a fountain of growth. So if you're in a city like that, like if you're in, let's say, like I don't know, Detroit or Pittsburgh or Kansas City or Cleveland or, these like smaller mid-sized cities, there's actually like a lot of work around, like a lot. I'd say like maybe 60% of our work is here in Wisconsin. But you do have to find a way, I think, to get more of a national presence. And once you're known nationally, it doesn't really matter where you're based if you do good
Mm-hmm.
work. Like, so networking took a little bit more work, and I think we had to like put up a big signal to the rest of the world that, hey, there's some really cool stuff happening here. We just happen to live in Milwaukee because that's where we live.
Yeah.
But we don't honestly think about it too much. Like, we're not exactly like a Milwaukee booster company. We're not out there saying Milwaukee's going to be the next creative hotspot. It's just like where we happen to be, and it's where a lot of our clients happen to be, and we love living here, so that's where we are.
Totally. Totally. How, like, for an agency, like in that location, then, you have to get national attention. Like, what were some of those strategies you guys like went to get that awareness and get that notoriety, I guess, within the industry at a larger scale
So
to marketing professionals, everybody? How do you get on their radars? What were some of those tactics you guys did?
we focus on the work, just making the work, and then if you're lucky enough that the work can win awards or get more attention, then the word can spread. Also, weirdly, like, we would work for a regional part of a company here. Nature's Way supplements is a really good example. It's one of our biggest clients. But they're an international brand, so we were doing work for their Wisconsin branch, and they got noticed, and then we were able to meet people higher up the chain there and start doing work with the other cities. So we have a few examples like that. And then, really strangely, this independent film that we produce, because, the three partners of SRH, we all went to film school.
Mm-hmm.
So like storytelling and filmmaking is the heart of the company. It all kind of came out of that. So we've been producing independent films on the side for the entirety of the company. And we made this one called Hundreds of Beavers that is a comedy that came out last year, and it kind of just blew up. So now we have, through the work we've done there, a lot of folks around the world are aware of us. So it's just about focusing on the work, having a global perspective, so understanding what the cutting edge people around the world are doing. Because if you're not in those agencies and you're not paying attention, it's really easy to sort of fall into, thinking that was maybe relevant 10 years ago. So we really have made an intentional effort to stay up to date with marketing scientists, especially from the Ehrenberg Bass Institute, to stay on top of our game.
Got it. And it's just so similar to breaking into your first job, like how agencies stand out. Like, you focus on the work, and then you've developed some sort of passion project or some sort of extracurricular activity once you have the foundational work, or maybe in tandem if you can balance it out. And then you get noticed for both. Like, the attention grab, like somebody does like a fun, like, I don't know, makes a cookbook for different types of agencies that they want to work for. That could be like interesting, and then it roots back to their portfolio and the work.
Totally.
So it's like the film you're passionate about, passion project. It's well done. The craft, it keeps you creatively in tune, but also gets you noticed. And it probably, also drives people back to who you all are, and maybe you'll get new work because of that. So there's a lot of parallels between the two. I always like to bring that up. But you also mentioned the effectiveness school and like learning about marketing effectiveness. And would you say like that might be a key differentiator for you all? Like, how are you investing in this, I guess, with your time and like your people and all your resources?
Yeah, absolutely. And, we were talking before the pod that you've had some of my heroes on your show. So Julian Cole, about 3 or 4 years ago, I took his course and was blown away when I got to the chapter on marketing effectiveness. And actually, a good friend of mine now, Matt Daniel, was on Julian Cole's show and just talked about the history of advertising and how it came to be. And they finally put a finger on something that had been bothering me about our practice at the agency for a long time. So we were doing a lot of brand purpose, brand positioning.
Mm-hmm.
What do we stand for? How do we reward our loyal customers more? And there was always something that just felt a little bit wrong about all of that, but I couldn't put a finger on it. And then I read How Brands Grow by Byron Sharp, which I discovered through Julian Cole's class and my friend Matt Daniel, and I was blown away by it. So Matt Daniel actually had this amazing dashboard that he put up on screen, and it looks confusing as hell when you first look at it. It's called the cogs of marketing effectiveness, and it's a bunch of just wheels that are different sizes. Some are bigger, some are smaller, but it shows how all the effects of marketing work together to move market share. And I was like, I've been using funnels, I've been using like all these other visuals to represent how a market works, but it never felt accurate because I think the market is chaotic. I think media is chaotic. I think it's splintered and siloed and just like crazy right now. And using like these really strict, like, first a person becomes aware and then they become engaged and then they have intent, like this line that we'd all been using as strategists, I think, which was kind of put upon us by the digital, like by tech, really didn't make sense to like even my own human experience of how I choose brands, how I choose products. And so I was blown away by this cogs of marketing effectiveness. So I reached out to Matt Daniel through Julian Cole, and we worked together and made it a dashboard. So now we have, which I can send you if you want to put in the notes. We have a dashboard that can accurately reflects, I think, how brands grow and is measurable and actionable, which really excites me.
Wow, I was Googling it right now. I want to find this thing. And
so here's how our process was to launch, because this was a new experience, right? Like, we're not a product company, we're a service company, we're not a dashboard company, right? We work with dashboard companies, we work with research companies, but forming our own dashboard was an interesting experience. We reached out to our favorite client, one of our biggest clients that we've had for 9 years, I think now. And we helped them grow from around $20 million in sales to about $80 million in sales in 5 years. So we're all very good friends there. And I said, hey, I've got this concept. I talked to the CMO and I said, look, would you guys help us prototype this? Like, can we work with you to prototype the cogs of marketing effectiveness? So we did that last year. We're just about to launch the cogs. This is really exciting. It's actually the first time I've talked about it publicly.
Nice.
Yeah.
Oh, I'm excited for that. So then, and will people be able to buy it? Like, how does that look once it launches?
So right now, how it's functioning is just like a better brand awareness research. So I had clients that were spending 6 figures in brand awareness. How many people are aware of our brand? Okay, great. 80% of the market. Let's try to get that to 90%. The trouble is, what that isn't measuring is how many people are associating your brand with the right thing, which is actually what we want to measure, right? So there's these things called category entry points. And a category entry point is just the moment in time, the sort of, we have 5 W's: who, what, where, why, when, of, actually, hold on, I do want to pause. Editors. Let's take that out. So category entry points are what it's all based on. A category entry point is something like, I'm at a gas station and I'm hungry. What do you grab for? And I'm going to actually just do this test on you, Gino. You're at a gas station, you're traveling on the road, you're looking at the candy bar aisle and you're hungry. What's the first candy bar you grab?
Snickers.
And why is that?
Oh, it's just always top of mind, I guess. Like when I think about like advertising that I've seen and it tastes good.
Yeah. And it's going to satisfy, right? Like Snickers satisfies.
Yeah.
Hungry, try Snickers, right?
Yeah.
So they grabbed a category entry point, which is like, if you want to feel full, I want to feel full in the gas station really quick, right? And they banged on that message forever. And that's good advertising. That's good brand awareness, because you're making your brand what we call mentally available in a moment in time. Mm-hmm. So what the cogs does, what our dashboard does, is we identify these category entry points that will matter to your consumer. And then we do a survey and we see what brands are they associating with those category entry points. And then we look at, okay, brand A over here has this category entry point totally, like they've got it on lockdown. If we wanted to tie our brand to that category entry point, we would be spending way too much money at BHR. It's like a fortress over there. But if we can position our brand to this category entry point over there and we can win that, it'll result in this much additional market share.
Got it.
So help me define show all of that.
Help me define a category entry point again. So like the gas station, like if you're stopping on a road trip or into like a gas station, that's a category entrance point. Can you help me understand that?
Yeah. So category entry point. It's kind of a, I sometimes quibble with the way that these things are named, right? It can be kind of confusing. A category entry point. It's the point you're entering a category, but because it's called point, it can sound like it's physical, but it's
Mhm.
really not. It's the situations and the moments and the context that trigger consumers to think of a particular brand, right?
Mm.
Or even more so, a category. So, what is the moment that triggers you into the fast food category? What is the moment that triggers you into the beverage category? Not what is the moment that triggers you to pick Coca-Cola? What is the trigger point that has you pick soda? And how can Coca-Cola win that? Does that
Okay.
make sense?
Yeah, yeah, yeah. So I guess if I'm done playing a sport or like I sweat a lot and I need like that might trigger me to go get a drink and that might trigger me to get Gatorade
Exactly. Yeah.
or
Gatorade does such a good job of positioning itself around, sweat and exercise. And I just like when I'm working out, I want to grab that.
yeah,
And they do that in their advertising, right? Everyone's always really sweaty, and they even put
yeah,
their distinctive colors in the sweat, which is some of the best advertising I've ever seen.
yeah.
So
It used to be.
like,
Yeah.
well, it used to be, yeah, they're
It
not
used to
doing that
be some of the
anymore.
best. Yeah.
I think those were
Yeah.
still some of the best
With the
ads ever.
Jordan, the black and white.
Yeah,
And yeah.
yeah, and
But
everyone's just
but
like leaking colorful sweat.
oh yeah, I think they still do a little bit of it, but
Okay,
I want to see them come back for sure. But the other one, it's like I know Pepsi is like trying to position themselves like if you the category entrance point, correct me here, it's like you're eating like food, like a burger, something, whatever it might be, a sandwich, pizza, you're having like food, and then you need a drink. And now Pepsi's trying to say, like, if you're eating, it tastes better. Like the drink that tastes better with food is Pepsi.
yep,
So
yeah, exactly right.
I don't think I see Coca-Cola doing that very often, like pairing that food and drink combo. So is that a category entry point as well, or is it am I
Yeah, yep,
misinterpreting?
yep. It's why, when, where, with whom, or with what, which covers a lot of things, right? And when we actually do this exercise, we ask those questions like, okay, when would someone enter your category? Where would they enter it? With whom would they enter it with? With what? Is there like another product or brand or thing that we can associate with you?
Is
Coca-Cola
it,
does this really well with popcorn. Speaking about food and soda,
oh yeah, yeah, yeah.
like just through decades and decades of movie theater trailers, you just think a Coke and a popcorn, right?
Hmm.
So with what? That's a category entry point. With popcorn, what am I going to drink with my popcorn? I'm going to drink a Coke, right? So think about what that means for strategy. What that means is now you're thinking about, how do I win moments in time? How do I
Hmm.
win triggers? How do I win motivations? Not how do I win hearts and minds and how do I stand for something in the world? I just think that, like, people don't think about advertising that way. They don't think about brands that way. It's the weak theory of advertising, quote unquote. Like, advertising has a passive effect on people, and the best thing you can do is just pick a category entry point that you want to associate with, advertise in and around that category entry point in the most effective way you can, and use your distinctive brand assets. So with Coca-Cola, it's the red, it's the swoosh, it's the specific font, it's
Hmm.
the way the bubbles sizzle, right? Like all those little things are distinctive to Coke, and just surround that category entry point with those things in your media buying, in your creative, etc.
I love it.
And
I
with the
love it.
cogs, yeah, with the cogs, you can actually measure how are we doing against that. You do surveys 3 months at a time or 6 months at a time, depending on what you can afford to do, and how big of a survey you can field. And you just see, are we increasing the association with that category entry point? Because if we are, then based on the principles of marketing effectiveness and the empirical laws that like Byron Sharp and those folks found, your market share will go up. And that kind of certainty is really, I don't know, it's really refreshing. Um,
What's
yeah.
the biggest argument to this school of thought? Because I don't follow. I'm not in that niche yet.
Yeah.
Cooper, shout out to Cooper, who's involved with break entering. He's our strategist. He writes our briefs. He knows this world better. But what is like the common argument against this stuff? And like, what does the other side say?
I think the other side is coming from direct marketing. So direct marketing is the world of, because marketing effectiveness really coaches a lot on building mental awareness. That's the main game, is building mental awareness around a category entry point. But I think previously that was hard to measure, right? So the folks who did the long and the short of it talk about this a lot too. How do we think about these really long-term tactics when actually a lot of what our CFOs and our CEOs are asking for is like, I need money this quarter. And what's great about direct marketing and its child, which is like digital marketing, is that you can really, in a sophisticated way, capture a lot of intent at the bottom of the funnel. And so I think a lot of marketing, at least in my experience, right, which is somewhat limited, I haven't done every brand in the world, but in our sort of, we have a lot of like mid-sized clients, like clients that are at maybe $100 to $200 million a year. They become very obsessed with those bottom funnel. How can we harvest as many sales as we can right now? And that becomes addicting, right? But the problem is by doing that, you're losing out on the long-term market share that you could be building, which I think fundamentally is what marketing should be. So where we run into a lot of trouble is like, well, can you show immediate ROAS, right? Can you show immediate sales? Can you show immediate this? And the answer to that is yes, we can. We have an entire performance marketing arm of our company. We can do that. But if you're putting all of your budget into that, you're really hurting yourself long term.
Got it. No, I fall into that trap. I started a business 6 months ago, full time doing breaking entering. And like, I'm thinking about like, yeah, those conversions, those sales, like get more clicks, just like all of like the basics that I've learned so far about advertising. Once you start your own business, it's like, oh wait, we need to do more digital. We need to be more performance based, and which is great too. But it's crazy, even for someone like myself that talks about this stuff for 5 years every single week. I've fallen into that kind of bias as well. Once you start worrying about paying salaries and doing that type of stuff and health insurance, it kind of goes away. So I kind of understand now why marketing professionals, CMOs, like care so deeply about that. CFOs as well, taking on this business.
Sales really matters, and again, I kind of consider performance marketing as actually a sales function. And again, our team is awesome. Like they pump money out, right, for their clients, but we're always balancing that with like long-term market share building growth. I think I've heard that the ideal ratio is 40% short-term, 60% long-term. I think it totally depends on the context. And I do think like you, when you're just getting started, you're going to be heavier on the sales, right? But brand building and building mental availability around a category entry point, which you're doing well. Your podcast is about breaking and entering into the advertising industry. So like you're doing this very well. And it might be hard to think, well, man, I can't do like brand advertising. That's expensive. I'm not going to go put a billboard out in New York City. That's going to cost me a lot of money. But what we kind of discovered with Hundreds of Beavers, which is this indie film we put out, is that you don't need a lot of money to do big, crazy long-term brand building activities. We did a lot of guerrilla marketing on that campaign, which then got covered by major media outlets and greatly expanded our sort of what you would call brand awareness or mental availability building. Totally. We're still doing performance marketing on that project, but we knew we needed some big splashes, and we knew we needed to get them for cheap. And you can do that if you're creative and wily enough.
I love it. Yeah. I love it. That's a great reminder. So then what's next for SRH? And then I want to get into your advice for the next generation, because you're obviously very well read and you have a lot of experience. So we'll get into your advice after you tell us what's next with SRH.
Next for SRH is we want to work with sleeping giant brands. So I would put out a call to anyone listening that's a sleeping giant. So that's a brand that's maybe a mid-sized company. We're looking to go on offense. And what that means is we're looking to help mid-sized companies become famous in their categories and just capture share and be aggressive. So if you're out there and you're a CMO and you think you have the leadership and the alignment to be aggressive, we know exactly how to empirically sort of lift your position in your category up. We're not that interested in working with the Nikes and the Gatorades and the big, huge brands that honestly at this point in their life are playing defense. They're kind of like, they're the top dogs, so they play defense of everyone around them. So, and we want to stay small. We're only a 25-person shop, and I don't think we ever really want to become bigger than perhaps 50 people. I think at a certain point, when you add more and more and more layers of bureaucracy, you start losing the magic, Yep. And we're trying to keep the magic if we can.
I love it. I love it. Okay. So knowing what you know now about strategy and production, like what would you say to somebody in 2020, what the heck? What would you say to somebody in 2025 looking to break into this industry? Specifically, we could do it holistically, like just to get your job, but then I want to focus in on strategy.
Yeah, I think in general, flexibility is the main theme that anyone entering the world of business now, like if you're 18 and you're 22 and you've graduated college and you're coming out of school and looking around, I would get as many experiences as you can in as many industries as you can, maybe doing creative work for those industries, maybe even working in those industries. Like I said a little earlier in the podcast, that lateral experience is really important to a strategist. I think it's almost more important to a creative. And if you're trying to do either of those two jobs, which are the only two I have, sort of experience in, I think you need to have an interesting life story more than like a sort of direct path. Like I was, I don't even, having started my own agency, I don't even know what the ladder looks like, to be totally honest. It's like, you're a junior, then you're a senior, then you're a whatever executive.
ACD,
Yeah,
CD,
yeah, all that stuff.
GCD. Yeah.
I mean, it truly exists within a company, right? Like they have rules and certain milestones you have to hit and all that. But like, I think the way to fast track that is just to have completely insane lateral experiences that you can bring in, and that will then help you do work that is distinctive and stands out, and then your career will advance faster. I think that's the advice I would give is just learn as much as you can, because we don't know what AI is going to do to our industry. We don't know what, it could completely change it in 3 years, or we could just be in another AI winter where all of this LLM stuff sort of pops. I have no idea. Yeah. So my best advice to all the young people out there is just like, go lateral, understand a lot about the world, read like Napoleon, like if you want to understand strategy, like understand Napoleon. Weirdly enough, like I think some of my best strategy ideas have come just from studying the history of strategy outside of the advertising community, outside of the advertising industry, and just understand things from like a global perspective and make sure you have a lot of different skills. That's kind of the world we live in. Ultimate flexibility is everything.
So Napoleon, who else? Who else do you recommend?
Oh man, like, well, I'm gonna sound like such a boy, but there's a book called On War by Clausewitz, and so On War is they still teach it at military schools. It's an old book, but it will teach you a lot about history of the world, a lot about how wars happen and are fought, and if you're understanding how people do strategy and tactics at when the stakes are the highest, it actually makes like coming up with strategy and tactics to sell vitamins seem very, minor by comparison. So that's what I mean with lateral experiences. You're going and you're learning strategy in a different sphere, in a different world, and then you're carrying that over to your advertising strategy.
Oh, I love it.
Yeah.
I'm definitely going to check that out. What's it called? On War?
On War by Clausewitz.
Nice. Nice.
Yeah.
Well, Kurt, how can people reach out to you if they have questions, they want to work with you? What's the best route here?
The best thing to do is go right to our website. It's srh.agency. We unfortunately weren't able to get srh.com because there's a t-shirt company in Los Angeles called Stoners Wreaking Havoc that sells stoner gear, which we have a couple shirts.
Reeking.
Reeking with an R.
It's so funny.
So it's not srh.com unless you want to pick up some stoner gear, which, do it, man.
Hey, whatever you like.
Do that first. Go to srh.com, pick up some stoner gear, and then come over to srh.agency, check out our work, get in touch with us, and we'd love to hear from you.
Amazing, man. Well, thank you for taking the time, sharing your story. I hope people reach out. I learned a lot, so I'm going to start thinking about that with my own business. So I wish you all the best.
Thanks so much, man. And I wish you the best too. Like, good luck building your brand. I think I'm excited to watch it happen.
Thank you, sir. Appreciate that.